What's up, guys? Welcome back. I am feeling like a happy dad today. Honestly, it's just because the shipment touched down. If you know, you know. If you guys see the merch that I wear in almost every single video, you know that I'm a huge Noke fan. So it's always good to re-up on some happy dads. Today's video is going to be a story time. I'm going to share with y'all my bad beats, my biggest L's. It's going to be hard for me to share some of these stories, but hopefully you guys learn from them. Let's get it. I could tell you guys sneaker stories for days. Eventually, I'm going to have some of my buddies on here. We can share some stories back and forth with you guys. But today, it's going to be all about my big L's. In retrospect, these all seem like really big L's, but in the moment, some of them weren't that bad. Some of them I still lose sleep over. I'm just playing, but in the moment, my worst bad beat was probably the Oregon Foams. The Oregon Foams came out whenever I was just a early blooming sneakerhead. I was still in school. That was back whenever the sneaker game was completely different. You would physically go to a store, a sneaker store. In this case, it was my local House of Hoops local, which was like an hour away from me. You'd walk into the store, you'd enter the raffle by writing your name and phone number on a raffle ticket and then your shoe size. So there's one day you spend going to enter the raffles. Then on a second day, you're waiting for a phone call. They tell you that they're gonna call you between maybe certain time and certain time, but you never really know, and there's always some shady stuff going on at these sneaker stores. And then if you're lucky enough to hit on that third day of the week, you gotta go pick them up by a certain time or you forfeit your pair. Now, if you guys were around when the Oregon Foams dropped, you know they were super hyped. So 17, 18-year-old me went to the store, entered the raffle, waited for the call. I got the call. I slept through the call. And if you were around whenever the sneaker game was like this, you know once you miss that call, you're not getting another chance. Whenever I woke up and I saw that I missed that call, my stomach instantly dropped. I saw the area code of the phone number and I knew that I missed the call for sneakers. I hurried up and I called back, and of course they went down the list. They would not give me another chance to get my size in the Oregon Foams. That was a pair that retailed for $250, I believe, at the time, and the resale value right off the rip of those was like $600, $700, $800. I know right now they've kind of settled down a little bit. It's hard to find those DS since it's been so long since they released. 2013, we're going on 9 years ago. It's crazy that it's been that long, but those shoes are still worth a lot of money, and they were worth a lot of money as soon as they released. And for me, with a collection as small as what I had back then, that would have really helped me kickstart my sneaker reselling business. I could have flipped that pair of foams and then used that money to buy a future release, you know, 3, 4 pairs even. I beat myself up over that one for a while. Needless to say, I made sure I never missed a phone call from Foot Locker again. That was definitely a major L, and that one was all on me. 100% my fault. This next one didn't seem that bad in the moment, but now I'm like, yeah, definitely took a bad beat there. When the Retro 1 Chicago's re-released in 2015, I made sure I copped pairs. I was out of school by then, so the grind with sneakers was full bore. The release procedures were a little bit different than they are now. You were able to camp outside of stores some. They still did the in-store raffles like what I was talking about with the Oregon Foams, and so I did everything that I could to give myself chances at new releases. When the Chicago ones dropped, I had a few pairs. I love ones, so you guys know that I had to rock a pair for personals. I later on sold those used and made a decent amount. But the bad beat is I had a dead stock size 9 that I took to a sneaker convention back in probably 2015. They sat on my table all day. Wasn't really pressed to sell them, you know, dead stock pair of ones. I love ones. They're Chicago's. The value's gonna go up. So I wasn't pressed to sell at all whatsoever. As I was packing up, this dude comes to my table and he's like, yo, how much you want for the Chicago's? And at the time, market was right around like $375, maybe $400 if you really fetched a decent price. So me packing up and not really pressed to sell, I just threw him a crazy number. Crazy at the time. So I'm like, 450, 450, you can have them. I'm boxing up, I'm leaving. Dude goes, all right, pulls out the bread, and I was like, oh, dang, all right. So like to me, I hit a lick then, right? Because the pair that I was selling them at like $50 to $75 over market. Dude pulls out the cash, I sold him the pair, and here we are. I mean, it's 7 years since those have released, so I can't really beat myself up too bad, but I mean, just look at the resale value now. It's incredible. If I would have sat on even 3 pairs of those, like, you could buy a used car for that. That's insane. This colorway was glorified in Jordan's documentary, The Last Dance. We definitely saw the value of these Chicago's spike right after the documentary released. They were on the incline anyways. The OG colorways of ones are always great holds, and this is part of the reason why I started holding sneakers. You know, you see the value of these shoes go up after you sell them, and it's like, I didn't wait long enough. So if you have a large enough inventory that you can hold pairs and you can wait on the value to rise, why not? Why not maximize your profits whenever you're really not pressed to sell any shoes? So yeah, sold a pair of shoes for $450 whenever I should have been raking in about 2 bands. And last but not least, we have arguably my favorite colorway ever to release for the Jordan 1. I camped out for these bad boys in a sketchy area for a very long time. Again, that was whenever you could actually sit outside and wait for the shoes, whenever real sneakerheads got what they wanted in their hands. And yes, I've rocked a pair of these for personals, and I still have them. And not only that, but I've kept them pretty clean too. Shattered backboards. This colorway is like the greatest thing ever. First off, these are my high school colors, orange and black. The leather on these is just unmatched. Obviously my toe box looks creased. I've worn these so many times. I try to keep them clean though. But the tumbled leather, it's so buttery too. Like, everything about them is buttery. If you've ever had the backboards in hand, you will know that this is one of the best quality ones to ever release. The insoles are so sick. They've got the shattered backboard, and the insoles don't fade either. Like, no matter how many times you wear them, you're always gonna see the shattered backboard inside, which is crazy because normally with Jordan 1s, you wear them and that normal Jumpman on the insole is gone within like the first 5 to 10 wears. This colorway, one of my favorites, if not my favorite ever. When I camped outside of City Gear for these, I was actually the first in line. I was in an area that I'd never been to before, but obviously I saw some familiar sneakerheads. That's also a part of the culture that I miss. You know, I'd see the same sneakerheads at almost every single release. We would always all be camping out for the same shoes. So you get to see the sneakerhead homies, you know, catch up, share some stories. When I got to this store, I actually walked in and asked them what the rules were for camping outside because I'd never camped there before. And they told me that I could not form a line until a specific time. So I waited in my car. I was like 2.5 hours away from home. I waited in my car for hours, and then I started to see people pull up and walk in the store and start hanging out, and I was like, yo, what's going on? I'm not about to lose my spot, you know? Like, the manager told me these rules, I'm gonna follow them because I want to be able to get my pair. So once I saw some familiar faces, I walked back. They started forming a list. If you're gonna camp out for the shoes, you don't need a list. It's whoever's at the door whenever the store opens, right? I just went with what they had, and honestly, some of the sneakerheads there were really cool. A couple of the dudes that I didn't even know that wanted the shoes got to the list before me, and they said, hey man, this guy's been waiting here since so and so o'clock, he should be first in line. And that was just like a respect thing, you know. I really wanted these shoes, and they knew that I was there waiting for them, and they let me have my spot in line. And later on, they actually did away with that list. Everybody just said, like, the heck with the list. The store manager said the heck with the list, and it was whoever was out there, and it was whoever was outside. It was cold outside, and there were a few people that kept going and sleeping in their car. Some of the guys in line actually pulled their chairs out of line, and they did not get their pairs. They had to leave. This one girl started crying over it. It was crazy. So I'm glad that they were, like, so accepting to me, and that I knew some of the people there that would give me my spot in line. So being first in line, I actually had a chance to go back around and cop a second pair. So I was able to get 2 pairs. I got one for myself, obviously, and then one to resell. Might have sold my second pair a little bit too early. If you guys remember, these and the shattered 2.0s, so the orange and white colorway that came out after these, kind of bricked. Like, there was a point in time where I could go to sneaker shows and I could cop these for around like $300 all day long. Dead stop. Maybe that was just market in my area, but that's what it was. And I remember doing a bulk deal at a sneaker show with a guy, and I offed a pair of these for less than $400. I want to say that I got rid of them for like $325, $350, dead stock, size 9.5. This pair right here is a size 9. This is my personal, and even used, like, I keep them pretty clean. Even the soles aren't that bad. I could get a decent amount out of these. I could probably get over 1,000 out of these. But that dead stock pair I sold for less than $400. I mean, you see the numbers, right? It's a bad beat. They're almost exactly in line with the Chicago ones they released the same year. If I would have had my head on straight, I would have copped as many pairs of those ones as possible, and I would have held on to them until, oh, I don't know, about now. So that is why I'm such such a stickler on holding pairs, especially whenever it comes to Jordan 1s. Yeezys always go up. Any of these retro Jordan colorways have a very good chance of going up. It's all about supply and demand. It's all about the restocks. When they rumor a restock of the Chicago 1, the value is going to go back down on that 2015 pair. Mark my words, they're not going to be selling for over $2,000 anymore. As soon as they announce that, they're going to dip, and then once the new pair releases, they're going to dip even more. That's just the way it works. Nobody's going to be itching to cop the 2015 pair if they re-release it in the exact same form. I don't know if they'll ever redo the backboards, and I don't know if they did, if they could even get the quality close to the same nowadays. This was definitely a pair that I wish I would have copped more of and kept on ice, just because I love them so much. But after hearing these stories, keep that in the back of your mind. To one, keep an eye on restocks and re-releases, but also do not be afraid to hold pairs. Study the market. Look at some of the pairs that released in 2015, 16, 17. See what they're sitting at now. Then jump up. Look at some pairs that released in 2018, 19, 2020, and see how the values have matured. Supply, demand, and a little bit of common sense. People buy the new shoes, they wear them. There's less new shoes out there. That's why I love the shoe game. Little risk, high reward. That is enough bad beats for today. That's 3 big ones for me. If you total that up, I probably lost what, 2, 4, around $4,500, almost $5,000 on 3 pairs of shoes. It's insane. That I one missed a phone call on, so didn't even have an opportunity to make money, and then the other 2 I sold for a total of like $750, less than $800, when I should have had $5,000 sitting in front of me in those 3 pairs. It's crazy. It's always one of those if I knew then what I knew now type of deals. What can you do? If you have any questions, drop them below, and as always, feel free to DM me. The handle is the same, at AllABSneakers. We're getting closer to 500 subs, so make sure you're subscribed, make sure you got your notos on, and stay tuned to the giveaway. Thank y'all for watching, and do not forget, this is all about sneakers.